Yo, 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 what up? What's good? How we doing? Where we at? How is everybody? Everything running? Yep. Okay, okay, we're good. We're good. We are good. How we doing out there? Oh, hold on. That. How much shit to handle? So, yeah, we ready to check out some impeachment stuff. I already watched a little bit of it. It's pretty compelling case made so far. What's up, Ryan? How we doing? Ready to rock and roll. Doing good, doing good. Okay, me too. Yeah, so far not so bad for today. Can't complain. It's a little cold outside, but luckily we're inside. Yeah, they opened the impeachment. What's up, Holly? They opened up the impeachment with a pretty damning video, and then what's his face gave a pretty good speech. So we'll watch a little bit of that. So we'll be a little bit behind it, but yeah, I'm streaming it. Yeah. So okay, people are popping in. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna start a little bit behind though, because it was there was some pretty good shit they were showing here. That's what we fucking need to have. I don't want, like, we've gone over a lot of this, so I don't want to show the whole thing. But they basically started with this just brutal, January 6th video, and it showed a lot of the different stuff. But figured we get to the meat of it. Then Jamie Raskin spoke on some stuff, so we'll watch that. 20,000 guns over here. That's true. Gave a pretty impassioned speech. Let's go! Let's go! Take it out! Use the shield! Use the shield! Use the shield! We need fresh patriots abroad! Over 2 hours after the insurgents breached the Capitol, President Trump tweeted
There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these.
Remember, this is 2 hours afterward. So after all this is going on, he still can't help himself but say, this fraudulent election. He still can't help himself.
People, we have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special.
I bet, yeah.
You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
7 people lost their lives, more than 140 law enforcement officers suffered physical injuries, and many more have been severely impacted by the experience that day. 4 hours after the Capitol was breached, Donald Trump tweeted the following. These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from the great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love. Oh, God. That was like the intro to the impeachment, basically.
Senators, the president was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives on January 13th for doing that. You ask what a high crime and misdemeanor is under our Constitution? That's a high crime and misdemeanor. If that's not an impeachable offense, then there is no such thing. And if the president's arguments for a January exception are upheld, then even if everyone agrees that he's culpable for these events, even if the evidence proves, as we think it definitively does, that the president incited a violent insurrection on the day Congress met to finalize the presidential election, he would have you believe there is absolutely nothing the Senate can do about it. No trial, no facts. He wants you to decide that the Senate is powerless at that point. That can't be right. The transition of power is always the most dangerous moment for democracies. Every historian will tell you that. We just saw it in the most astonishing way. We lived through it. And you know what? The framers of our Constitution knew it. That's why they created a Constitution with an oath written into it that binds the president from his very first day in office until his very last day in office and every day in between. Under that Constitution and under that oath, the President of the United States is forbidden to commit high crimes and misdemeanors against the people at any point that he's in office. Indeed, that's one specific reason the impeachment, conviction, and disqualification powers exist,
link in bio, guys, so
to protect us against presidents who try to overrun the power of the people in their elections and replace the rule of law
so you can see that I'm live on YouTube.
With the rule of mobs. These powers must apply even if the president commits his offenses in his final weeks in office. In fact, that's precisely when we need them the most.
I just want to say that this whole you can't impeach somebody who isn't in office anymore is just absolutely ridiculous. So what's the cutoff? So at what point can you just do ridiculous shit and do whatever you want as president and then not have any consequences for it? And even on top of that, he was impeached in the House before he left office. So it's an unfinished thing anyway. So basically what they're arguing today, well, the whole debate today is whether it's constitutional or not. So it's basically a wasted day because it's obviously constitutionally, it's something they can, it's constitutional to finish impeaching a president who was already in the act of getting, or to convict a president that was already impeached after he leaves office. It's just, it's ridiculous that they're even trying to go with this. But, I mean, embarrassment is not something the GOP is not used to.
The most, because that's when elections get attacked. Everything that we know about the language of the Constitution, the framers' original understanding and intent, prior Senate practice, and common sense confirms this rule. Let's start with the text of the Constitution, which in Article 1, Section 2 gives the House the sole power of impeachment when the president commits high crimes and misdemeanors. We exercised that power on January 13th. The president, it is undisputed, committed his offense while he was president. And it is undisputed that we impeached him while he was president. There can be no doubt that this is a valid and legitimate impeachment. And there can be no doubt that the Senate has the power to try this impeachment. We know this because Article 1, Section 3 gives the Senate the sole power to try all impeachments. The Senate has the power, the sole power, to try all impeachments. All means all, and there are no exceptions to the rule. Because the Senate has jurisdiction to try all impeachments, it most certainly has jurisdiction to try this one. It's really that simple. The vast majority of constitutional scholars who've studied the question and weighed in on the proposition being advanced by the president, this January exception, heretofore unknown, agree with us. And that includes the nation's most prominent conservative legal scholars, including former 10th Circuit Judge Michael McConnell, the co-founder of the Federalist Society, Stephen Calabresi, Ronald Reagan Solicitor General Charles Freed, luminary Washington lawyer Charles Cooper, among hundreds of other constitutional lawyers and professors. I commend the people I named, their recent writings to you in the newspapers over the last several days. And all of the key precedents, along with detailed explanation of the constitutional history and textual analysis, appear in the trial brief we filed last week and the reply brief that we filed very early this morning. I'll spare you a replay, but I want to highlight a few key points from constitutional history that strike me as compelling in foreclosing President Trump's argument that there's a secret January exception hidden away in the Constitution. The first point comes from English history, which matters because, as Hamilton wrote, England provided the model from which the idea of this institution has been borrowed. And it would have been immediately obvious to anyone familiar with that history that former officials could be held accountable for their abuses while in office. Every single impeachment of a government official that occurred during the framers' lifetime concerned a former official. A former official. Indeed, the most famous of these impeachments occurred while the framers gathered in Philadelphia to write the Constitution. It was the impeachment of Warren Hastings, the former Governor General of the British colony of Bengal, and a corrupt guy. The framers knew all about it, and they strongly supported the impeachment. In fact, the Hastings case was invoked.
Do I think this is strong enough so far? I mean, I feel like this is what's going to happen is I think this is going to be a good case. They're going to lay out a good case for what happened and why it is a good case for impeachment. But I don't think he's going to get impeached. So I think they're going to be able to play off of the, oh, well, you know, this is just the Dems, the wacky Dems, you know, trying to impeach Trump because they're obsessed with Trump. Like, that's going to be the talking point. But I think for the normal average citizen, I think this will be a good case just for how far they have gone, because they're going to go all in and they're going to basically, you know, side with the base, which is all they have at this point. But, you know, to the average person who follows politics, I think they're going to lay out a very strong case for why Trump should be impeached, even though I don't think in the end, I mean, we're just not going to get 16, 17 senators. You might get 4. I figure there might be 4 that'll vote to convict, but I don't think it's going to matter. But I do think they are going to lay out a good case. Yeah, I mean, it's not just the hate speech, it's the lies, it's everything that he did. He led basically a campaign of hate and disinformation that led to this. Had he not done that, it would not have happened. And it's not, you can point to one of a million things and say, oh, well, that one thing didn't do it. It's all of it combined. That's what made it happen.
By name at the convention, it was the only specific impeachment case that they discussed at the convention. It played a key role in their adoption of the high crimes and misdemeanor standard.
No, not really.
And even though everyone there surely knew that Hastings had left office 2 years before his impeachment trial began.
Laura Ingraham did have quite an interesting segment last night that I want to go over. Plus, I found some, or I didn't find them. Somebody in the Discord sent me a video that was pretty interesting. So we'll check that out. But I wanted to watch a little bit of this anyway.
And not a single framer, not one, raised a concern when Virginian George Mason held up the Hastings impeachment as a model for us in the writing of our Constitution. The early state constitutions supported the idea, too. Every single state constitution in the 1780s either specifically said that former officials could be impeached or were entirely consistent with the idea. In contrast, not a single state constitution prohibited trials of former officials. As a result, there was an overwhelming presumption in favor of allowing legislatures to hold former officials accountable in this way. Any departure from that norm would have been a big deal, and yet there's no sign anywhere that that ever happened. Some states, including Delaware, even confined impeachment only to officials who had already left office. This confirms that removal was never seen.
Just one more thing real quick. Another thing, this is just going to have to make Republicans in the Senate just go completely mask off. Because if you really pay attention, you know that the radicals, like they talk about the radical left, but the radicals in government are on the right. They are the far right fringe, the same kind of people that, follow QAnon, stuff like that. Like the people that have the most radical beliefs in our government are on the right, and they're going to fall in line to protect Trump, even though he clearly is guilty of what they are charging him with. So it's going to kind of make him go mask off for the world to see, but it's going to be up to the Democrats to make it, I guess, sexy enough to where regular people will pay attention. Otherwise, I mean, he could possibly run again and win unless they do a good job here, I think, So this is actually, more important, I think, than people give it credit for.
As the exclusive purpose of impeachment in America, the goal was always about accountability, protecting society, and deterring official corruption. Delaware matters for another reason. Writing about impeachment in the Federalist Papers, Hamilton explained that the President of America would stand upon no better ground than a governor of New York and upon worse ground than the governors of Maryland and Delaware. He thus emphasized that the president is even more accountable than officials in Delaware, where, as I noted, the Constitution clearly allowed impeachment of former officials. And nobody involved in the convention ever said that the framers meant to reject this widely accepted, deeply rooted understanding of the word impeachment when they wrote it into our Constitution. The convention debates instead confirm this interpretation. There, while discussing impeachment, the framers repeatedly returned to the threat of presidential corruption aimed directly at elections, the heart of self-government. Almost perfectly anticipating President Trump, William Davey of North Carolina explained impeachment was for a president who spared, quote, no effort.
They can only impeach if they hold office. Simple. He was impeached when he held office. Can you please show me where it says that you have to be that they cannot impeach a former president? I would really like to see where it says that you or what is the cutoff point then? What is the cutoff point for when you can't impeach anymore? So for the last 3 weeks, if I'm president, I can just do ridiculous shit, and then because I'm out of office, I don't get held liable for anything I did. I can just run again in 4 years because I'm not in office anymore. And he was impeached while he was in office. So the whole argument is ridiculous. Like, you can't just cut it off halfway. He got impeached while he was still in office. This is just to convict him.
Or means whatever to get himself reelected. Hamilton in Federalist 1 said the greatest danger to republics and the liberties of the people comes from political opportunists who begin as demagogues and end as tyrants, and the people who are encouraged to follow them. President Trump may not know a lot about the framers, but they certainly knew a lot about him. Given the framers' intense focus on danger to elections and the peaceful transfer of power, it is inconceivable that they designed impeachment to be a dead letter in the president's final days in office, when opportunities to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power would be most tempting and most dangerous, as we just saw. Thus, as a matter of history and original understanding, there is no merit to President Trump's claim that he can incite an insurrection and then insist weeks later that the Senate lacks the power to even hear evidence at a trial, to even hold a trial. The true rule was stated by former President John Quincy Adams when he categorically declared, "I hold myself, so long as I have the breath of life in my body, amenable to impeachment by the House for everything I did during the time I held any public office." When he comes up in a minute, my colleague, Mr. Neguse of Colorado, will further pursue the relevant Senate precedents and explain why this body's practice has been supported by the text of the Constitution. And Mr. Cicilline of Rhode Island will then respond to the fallacies presented by the President's counsel. And after these gentlemen speak, I will return to discuss the importance, the fundamental importance of the Senate rejecting President Trump's argument for the preservation of democratic self-government and the rule of law in the United States of America. I now will turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Neguse of Colorado.
Do I have to recognize him? No.
Okay, well, that was pretty good. All right, well, we'll come back to that. Damn. So Laura Ingraham gave one of the most fear-mongering monologues, I guess you could call it, I've ever seen. Basically, the new thing on the right is they're trying to flip the script. They're trying to say, oh, well, you want to talk about Trump's insurrection. Let me tell you about Biden letting all these Mexicans in here. That's the real insurrection, even though he really hasn't done anything on immigration policy except call for a task force to find children, you know, which I guess is bad. But it is pretty rough. Dude, I don't know what is wrong with my, for some reason, I've been dropping frames on my lives, and I thought I fixed the damn thing, but now it seems I have not. Driving me nuts. I don't know. I gotta do something to fix it. Here it is.
Biden's insurrection. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
God.
All right, let's face it. The Democrats and the media that serve them, they're like addicts looking for their next fix. And their drug of choice over the past 5 years has been Donald J. Trump. They just cannot quit him. And
these are the same people that had 3 days worth of hate-filled segments over Obama wearing a tan suit. Like, I don't want to hear it. Obama hate made Fox News. It just totally it shot the ratings into the stratosphere. But now they're not crazy enough, you know, because they have to have some semblance of not being batshit insane, just kind of partisan hackery. But now that there's Newsmax and everything, they've lost in the ratings the most. Like, everybody's down like 30-40%, but Fox News is actually behind in the ratings the last few weeks, behind CNN, MSNBC, because they're losing so much of their audience to Newsmax and OAN because they won't go full crazy. Like, you're never supposed to go full crazy, but OAN and Newsmax have gone full crazy. So I think this is part of their attempt to try to win back some of their audience. Because they'll go full crazy on the immigration stuff. Just not on the...
This week, they'll snort, inhale, and smoke Trump 24/7 as they try to suck you into their downward spiral. If you're conservative and you voted for Trump, they want you demoralized by the impeachment proceedings and the January 6th riot, and they want for you to believe that things were never going to get better. If you're a Democrat voter, they want you possessed by Trump hatred and obsessed with punishing anyone who ever supported him. Now, why? Because if you really keep your eye on what's really happening out there, you're going to realize that Biden isn't running anything. He's barely awake.
The Bible tells us, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning.
That's the other thing they're going with, like the shadow prez conspiracy. Like, oh, Biden's not even actually running the country. It's that cop Mala. Well, they don't say that. It's that socialist liberal Kamala Harris. That's who's taking down our country, and she's gonna fill it full of brown people, and then I don't know what, make weed legal, and that's scary. So yeah, but yeah, he's asleep at the wheel. He's not running the country. He's gonna fill it full of immigrants. He's a Trojan horse for the left. That's the kind of shit you're gonna hear for the next 4 years.
And if you don't fall for their shiny object shtick, you're also going to see that his team is populated by snotty, entitled, overeducated, underperforming goofballs.
Overeducated. Yes. How dare Biden hire people who have degrees in the fields that he hired them for? Well, not Pete Buttigieg. He is kind of a snarky prick, but you know what? Most of them probably are. But I don't know. I don't feel like being too educated is a good gripe. I don't know. Is that what we're going after people for? Like he's just too educated in his field. I don't know why he put this climate scientist in charge of the EPA or some shit. Why would you do that? I would much rather an oil
but surely
lobbyist.
Dismantling our economy, opening the door to an endless stream of illegal aliens, drug dealers, and gang members. The New York Times and Washington Post shockingly admitted over the weekend that Biden's presidency is about to get slammed by thousands upon thousands of families and unaccompanied minors, all illegal immigrants, at the southern border. Now, if we had a Congress that was focused on protecting American jobs, safety, health care, and education, they would immediately tighten asylum laws. Remember, Trump's common sense policy required that applicants from...
Do you think they're trying to paint a picture here with this visual? Like, oh, this is what's going to happen in America if we don't stop them now. I knew they were... God, this is so easy to... Like, you can call this shit from a mile away. I knew they were going to go in hard on the immigration stuff. That's the only thing they have. Because, well... the mainstream right anyway, they don't have anything else. They can't dance with the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, and they have to talk shit about Biden constantly for something, even though he really hasn't done anything on immigration yet. He's ordered to have some policies looked into. That's about it. And he created a task force to find the 600 missing children. Like, a lot of people on the left have criticized him because he hasn't done enough. But apparently, finding missing children is going too far for Laura Ingraham.
Central America who want to seek asylum in our country, they had to pass through, Mexico
definitely.
on the way.
I would look, yeah,
they had
legal
to declare
weed is
it
a good
there,
idea.
not after illegally crossing our border. But last week, Biden did away with that. And that's not the only thing. He's going to effectively dismantle our entire immigration enforcement.
There's some new reporting that ICE is going to get some new guidance to
God, Steve
no
Busey's
longer
kid is
focus
such a
on
prick.
deporting illegal immigrants who have been convicted of DUI, simple assault, solicitation, drug-based crime.
He looks like, what's the kid from Saved by the Bell? He looks like Zach. And wasn't it Zach, the blonde one? He looks like Zach, like if he grew up to be like just a real douchebag. Just like a real douche. Fucking Zach whatever over here from Saved by the Bell.
And I'm curious how that is in the interest of public safety.
Nobody is saying that DUIs or assault are acceptable behavior, and those arrested for such activity should be tried and sentenced as appropriate by local law enforcement. But we're talking about the prioritization of who is going to be deported from the country.
Yeah, they're just inconvenienced. Let the local law enforcement deal with it, keep it welcoming more. Now think about this. At a time when we're seeing more crime, fewer jobs, and millions...
I mean, DUIs aren't good, but it's just a misdemeanor. I don't know. I don't feel like somebody should be deported just over a misdemeanor. You know, that I don't think that's some giant revelation or, you know, some big change in policy. Just not prioritizing that. I mean, that's... Again, they're grasping at straws here. They're really, really reaching. Because, again, it's all they got. It's all they have.
Millions of kids...
But you know what? It's really not going to work. I don't think it's going to work as well as it did with Obama. Because I think just for people on the right, especially during that time, like, Obama was just easy for them to hate. Like, he had, like, a more of, like, a... kind of like a smug, charismatic kind of thing. Like, he was a way better politician, I think, than Biden, but he was better in ways that people on the right hate. And plus, you know, he was black, so they didn't really like that too much. Especially then, I would argue it has probably gotten better as far as their hate of, you know, other people. But it was definitely worse then, I think. But Biden, he kind of just has this everyman kind of feel, even though he's not an everyman. But he kind of has, you know, he doesn't really have a strong ideology. He just kind of goes with the flow, and he's kind of hard to hate. And I don't think, like, the average person just hates him. And I don't think the talking points land as well. So I don't think this is going to work very well for them. But it's what they're going to go with.
Kids stuck in Zoom hell and not in school.
Zoom hell,
Biden's
yes.
team focuses on shielding illegals from deportation because he doesn't want to put them through too much stress. Yes, they have to tell the truth on government forms, but if they lie, no problem. The new ruling from USCIS essentially locks in President Biden's wishes to end the deportation of illegals, even if they are caught lying about their applications for U.S. taxpayer-funded services, a green card, or asylum. Now, if that's not enough to make your blood boil, the Washington Post adds that ICE agents seeking to arrest fugitives outside of jails and prisons will need approval
dropping
from
frames.
the
My
agency's
computer's not even running
director
hard.
in Washington. Gang tattoos or records showing loose affiliation with gang activity
Doesn't he, though? Yeah.
would also not meet the narrower criteria. Folks,
Oh, God.
this is one big bienvenidos.
Who the fuck is making these graphics? All right, here's what we're gonna need, Bob. Okay, we need a long stretch of roadway. Make it look at something like kind of like New Mexico-y meets Minnesota, and then put Bienvenidos MS-13. Oh, Jesus. Yes, I bet we should put that up at the border just for the troll.
MS-13, a billboard flashing, might as well be across Central America and beyond.
Yeah, I guess.
Biden's open borders zealots have what they want. Big business,
Open borders.
They get their slave labor, and the social justice warriors, the far left squad types, they have their new pop.
Keep in mind that Biden has done basically nothing on immigration. He has called for what do you call it? Like evaluation of Trump's policies. For the most part, he's pretty even the Remain in Mexico policy, which is one of the worst policies. He called for an investigation into why I think he's trying to cover his ass because he knows that's what they'll go after him on for the midterms. I think he wants like hard evidence as to why these policies are bad for the country, like good government data before he undoes them. Now, I would make the case that you should probably undo them, and by the midterms, maybe pass economic policy first before you undo them. I don't know. It's tough to say because you're dealing with like people's lives, and the Remain in Mexico policy is just absolute dog shit. So I don't know. It's debatable, but I think that's the route he's going. He wants hard evidence, data, government data. These policies are bad, so we're gonna undo them. I think that's where he's going. So all this that she's talking about, first of all, these policies are bullshit anyway, and they suck. And now she's freaking out over things that haven't even happened. Which, you know, naturally.
Population that can be molded and formed into Socialist Party faithful. Eventually, they hope to swamp the voting power of all of you Americans out there who still know the country's traditions, constitution, and history. And heck, you may not have stayed in a hotel in the past year, but illegals arriving since Biden's inauguration, they get to stay free of charge. San Diego arranged housing for hundreds of arriving migrants in a downtown high-rise hotel where they're being quarantined before being allowed to join family or friends in the interior of the United States. It sounds so pleasant. Can you believe that at a time when our own people are suffering?
Wait, isn't that a good thing? Shouldn't they quarantine before? Why is that bad? Oh, they're in a hotel. Can you believe it? A common, like, well, and then they always use people in our country are suffering, yet you don't want to do anything to help those people. And when those people are suffering, you let it go on. But when we try to help other people, you're like, well, they have these other people suffering. It's like, okay, well, let's help them. Whoa, I didn't say all that. I don't want to do all that. But, you know, I got to use them as a talking point when you want to help out the other people. Like, people are always going to be suffering here. We need immigration, and we need to find a way to help these people and make it easier for them to become citizens, because no one over here wants to have children anymore. So we better do something. But, you know, they stayed in a hotel, so I guess that's like living in a life of luxury. I don't even understand.
Now that takes us back to tomorrow's Barnum and Bailey revival in the Senate. Democrats are arguing that Trump welcomed and incited a violent incursion into the Capitol, when it is they who are enticing illegals to bust through our borders, exploit our resources, and commit crimes. And we're not talking about a few hundred. We're talking...
Tell me you're racist without telling me you're racist.
Hundreds of thousands, eventually millions, if the Democrats have their way. There is an insurrection taking place against America, all right. It's been going on for years in the deepest depth of the D.C. swamp. And now its figurehead resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This insurrection seeks to overthrow everything we love about America by defaming it, silencing it, and even prosecuting it. This is an organized mob funded by billionaires. It's supported by celebrities.
Oh, God.
And it's aided and abetted by propagandistic...
That's a CNN. God, he looks rough. Why does he look so goofy? That, what is it? Jeff Lurie or whatever his name is?
News organizations.
The CNN guy.
Every single step of the way. These insurrectionists have stormed our schools with BLM indoctrinators. They shuttered our classrooms by empowering union heavies. They've overwhelmed small businesses with idiotic, stupid lockdowns. They've robbed Americans of good-paying oil and gas jobs with obscene climate change dictates. They've ripped down historical markers.
Well, what about the 10 million green jobs that we're trying to produce? And they have made such a big deal out of this Keystone Pipeline thing. Somehow 600,000 jobs. Well, it's actually 80,000. Well, no, it's actually 1,000. Well, no, it turns out it's actually 50 permanent jobs and 25 of them are in Canada. But, you know, hey, propaganda's got to propagandize, I guess.
From Washington to Lincoln. They've terrorized patriotic Americans who are now afraid to just speak their minds.
Oh, yes.
They burned...
That's what I think of when I think of Trump supporters. People afraid to speak their minds. Is that what you guys get? Is people afraid to speak their minds? Because I know that's my experience. They're just so timid, those Trump supporters, afraid to speak their minds for fear of being canceled, says the lady on the primetime national cable news slot. Jesus.
Police precincts. They've taken over entire city blocks. And not just for a few hours, by the way.
They took over one. They took over one city block. And admittedly, yes, that was stupid. Not saying people on the left don't do dumb shit. Chaz was really dumb, and it was an eyesore, and it was bad politics. But you know what? It was pretty much harmless. So harmless that you guys had to Photoshop a guy with the AR-15 in to pictures.
But for weeks, and as in Portland, months. So as they dangle their shimmery impeachment bauble in front of you this week, we will methodically and relentlessly expose their real aims. And also, we'll expose those providing aid and comfort. Soon, America will see who the real threat to democracy is and how the good guys, once again, can prevail. And that's the angle.
That's some fucking angle. First generation immigrants are almost always strictly. Yeah, no, see, if that's where conservatives have really messed up, because a lot of these immigrants are traditionally conservative, but they come over here and they're just shit on by the right so much that they can't help but voting with the left for the most part. They're just demonized and told they're the reason everyone doesn't have a job, or why wages are low, or cue the many talking points. And that ends up swaying a lot of them. Really, the reason Trump won Florida is because of conservative Cuban voters. But that's they've built that up over a lot of years. But they would do much better if they changed their messaging, and I think they're working on that a little bit. But some are working on it. But I mean, that needs to be the direction they go in. Otherwise, they're not going to be winning too many elections. Let's do. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what is going. This is pissing me off. Hold on here. I have the bit rate up high. Fucking technology, man, I swear. For some reason, I'm dropping frames, but my computer's not. Well, it's running a little high now. It's not even running high though. It usually runs way higher than that. Over to Twitch because I kept having issues with my YT app. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what the hell, man. I can see it. I'm watching it now. It's like laggy for some reason. Huh, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just ride with it. Oh, I know what I wanted to here. Hold on. Did you guys see this guy on TikTok? Where's the ads? I gotta like some strange ass videos for you guys sometimes. I just want you to know that.
Hey, it's your favorite truth seeker. Stuff's gonna come out March 4th. You realize
Part
that. See
6, Part 5, Part 4.
Hey, no.
He's basically going all in on the.
Not have the evidence about. Hey, no. Hunker.
Fuck, gonna get copyrighted.
Hey, it's your favorite truth seeker, holding the light for everyone out there who's given up hope that Trump is not the president of the United States of America, when in fact he is, but the 19th president of the United States, restored Republic of America, you could say. Okay, if you truly do not believe he did not invoke the Insurrection Act, you have been fooled. Okay, do you think he came all this way to just walk away when he has that, when he can invoke that? Okay, so the Director of National Intelligence, Ratcliffe,
Yeah, but censorship is a... Vlad, what is your beef? What's your beef here? Who's censoring you? You guys are having quite the spirited chat here. Let's scroll through this. I was waiting for someone to respond to him. I built them with my bare hand. Okay. We're just having a spirited debate with Vladimir Putin. Oh, okay. Vlad, don't you have a country to run? Like what? I don't know what's your aren't you the same one that just said that Trump shouldn't be impeached because he's out of office?
Do you think he would publicly say there's confirmed foreign interference with China, Italy, and I believe it was Pakistan? Do you think he would really just say that and not have the evidence to back it up?
Yes. I think Trump says things that he doesn't have the evidence to back up. Yes.
Hey, it's your favorite truth seeker. Not have the evidence to back it up?
This guy has like a weird Jim Carrey vibe, doesn't he? Like if Jim Carrey was like a weird conservative.
No, man. What you're seeing on CNN, all these mainstream media, Facebook, Twitter, all these people who have deplatformed the current president of the United States before January 20th.